What's up, Sporkman family? It's your boy Sporkman, and welcome back to another Market Watch. Today, we're going to be talking about cards you should be buying, you should be selling, you should be holding on to, and just thinking about all in all. Now, one thing to note before we start talking about Stampede, to everyone here in the community watching, is that just be careful buying QCRs in this current landscape. I touched upon it on a recent video that I had this morning, but there probably will be Starlight Rares for a lot of these cards we're seeing made into QCRs. So just be very wary of that happening as well moving forward as you are investing into these cards and starting to try to make profits or, trying to take into account what happened in Bonanza, right? Because I think a lot of people are trying to predict what is going to happen with a lot of these cards because of what happened in Bonanza, and that's fine because card prices will go up, card prices will go down, but it's also something to keep in mind that if you hold on to it too long, it can be reprinted into a Starlight Rare, and that could be troublesome, especially for the value of the card you bought it in for and trying to resell it for as well. So just be wary of that moving forward. Now, there's a lot of cards here that you should be taking a look at, but one thing I always say to do, and I think a lot of people that have been watching the channel, is yes, we're going to hit the QCR, but we're going to go to low to high, not high to low. And we're going to take a look at a lot of the QCRs here. And this is where you're going to succeed. This is where you're going to make your bread and butter and even, your jelly, your peanut butter, all these things that you want to say, all right? I ran out of words, but you guys understand. A lot of these things that you see here is going to be where you succeed, because we saw a lot of what we saw in Bonanza was from these under $5 cards, or really under $10 cards, because they transpired to be really into that $20 market, into even the $30 market. We saw a lot of buyouts and happening, especially around these cards. And this is where you're going to succeed. Now, listen, I can't tell you what is going to get support. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball like that. I can't tell you what is going to go up for sure. I'm not a financial advisor, and that is something I don't want to mislead you. But here's what I will tell you. Given what we've seen as a trend happening in Bonanza, more or less, a lot of these cards will go up in price. Why? Because Stampede was based off pretty much the playability of market, which meant was that they're going to play off the Edison format, the hat format, the GOAT format, the current landscape format, which is the meta, and they were going to try to reprint or just print all these cards into high rarity so that way people could get access to these cards that weren't getting access to it before, but also in a nicer rarity as well, an upgraded rarity. And I should say high rarity because I put quotes because I really don't know whether or not to call it a high rarity. But this is where you will succeed more or less with a lot of these cards. And you can see there is a lot of cards here that are under $10, and they probably will go up over time, especially people playing those formats like Edison and stuff like that. Like Diamond Direwolf, this is a great card. This is a really, really great card, for example. Atlantean Heavy Infantry, this one got a lot of reprints recently, so that's another good one. The Mermail cards, the Ninja cards, Spiral, number 101 has its moments, Gargantuan X, Zamborg, the Zaborg, there's a lot. There's a lot of good stuff here, man. There's a lot of good stuff that you could capitalize on. It really will be that waiting game for a lot of these cards as well, where Archetype gets support. Like, let's say Blackwings get support. There's a Blackwing card in this one. And let's say Windup, for example, because it's right in front of us. Let's say Windup gets support. This card might go up, right? Obviously, Zenmaity is banned right now, but if it ever does come back and Wind does make a reappearance, this card probably will go up a lot, especially since it is a QCR. So there's a lot to look at here, because really there's a lot of cheap cards in the market. And a lot of cards that we thought that would be expensive are really not expensive. Now, if we look at even the high price cards, right? All the high price cards. Let's go back to high to low real quick. A lot of these cards on Gamer's Choice, as we saw in the pre-sale market, was kind of ridiculous, right? There's a lot of cards at the $100 price tag. Really, there's no cards right now in market price that is at $100. So that should tell you everything you need to know about pre-sale market and what we were talking about in the pre-sale market, that you should not be buying pre-sale market, especially those $100 cards, because it was never going to be $100. All right? We only saw one card really reach $100 in Bonanza, and that being the Blue Eyes. None of them really touched 100, and none of these are touching 100. One thing to note though, I think Ash Blossom will eventually touch 100, but that's we have to wait to see. All right. Again, there's a lot to be said about a lot of these cards, right, being reprinted as a Starlight Rare in the coming months, especially with the Tins announcement of it being in there. Probably going to have another rarity collection, so there's a lot to account for as well. Obviously, there's some really cool ones that probably will go up over time just because of what it is. I think the Dark Magician artwork in this one will definitely go up. I think this Blue Eyes is definitely a cool, like, chicken type of version. Blue Eyes, which I think will go up over time. Again, these are thoughts to just have in the back of your head, but also just be wary of things to happen in the future. Right now, I will say you have to wait a little bit on this market, especially Stampede, because we don't know what really will transpire with a lot of these cards and these prices, because there's a lot of low listings. Not enough people have opened this up yet, and not enough listings have really shown where the market is at for a lot of these cards. So I don't want to actually tell you to buy into anything right now, because I don't want to give you the wrong aspect. However, I will say when we do look at the low to high, that is where I'll tell you to buy, right? Like I just said, this is where you're going to see a lot of your success. This is where you will take your chances, because you're not really going to lose out on a lot of money here, only some dollar pieces here, where it more or less will probably not go down under $1, right? If you're going to see a lot of the cards under $5, go down to maybe $4, you're not really losing a lot. If anything, you'll see more gain than loss with those cards. And that's why I tell you buy the cards that are under really $5, because I feel like you'll see more valuation, more buck for your for what you're spending here as well. But all in all, I'm not gonna make this a long market watch. I'm just gonna tell you to be careful what you're spending your money on, especially in the Stampede market. I think a lot of people are telling a lot of people in market watches that buy this and buy that and buy this and buy that. Listen, everybody, it's great. I always tell people to buy certain things, but it's also very a troublesome thing where you don't really know where the market's at with this. You don't know what's going to happen. And sure, you want to tell people to buy things because you want to make a profit. Sure, I do too, but you have to be also very smart about what you're telling people to buy. So I don't want to tell you to buy into anything right now as is. What I will tell you is to look at the other sets that are around right now. We've talked about a lot of these sets, having high cards, low cards. We saw Bonanza, for example. We saw a lot of cards doing well here, a lot of cards not doing well. You have to take all these into account that, these prices may not stick for too long if there's Starlight Rare going to be made for here as well. So there's a lot to be said. The meta is shifting. We're seeing a lot of different things happen. We're seeing Odeon hype day in, day out. So we're seeing a lot of card prices really start to tick up just a tad bit. So just be aware of that as well. Number 107 has hit under 30 really. And one thing to note, because I know a lot of people are like, when should I buy this? I mean, now is definitely the time. I mean, look at the prices for these cards. $25 basically for your Silent Magician. I know a lot of people are fan favorites of this one. That's why we keep going back to it as well. Note Parelia, Forelius, all these cards could be reprinted in the tins, so just be wary and be careful buying into those cards at such a high price tag, even in Stampede, even in these things. All in all, this market watch is just going to be more or less telling you just to be wary of what you're buying, because I don't want you spending this much and then lose this much, because it's going to be very, very hard on your wallet as well. But that's about it for this market watch. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's one of those market watches where it's not really giving you much insight what to buy, but really just preparing you just to be careful what to buy. But hopefully this helps. I really hope it helps, because I think sometimes it's better to make these market watches on just understanding the market too, and understanding when and when not to spend your money as well. But what I will say is that given a lot of high price tag, if you pull a high expensive card, I probably would sell it if I were you. But that's about it for this market watch. I hope you guys enjoyed. From yours truly, Sparkman. We'll catch you next one. Please comment, and peace out, YouTube.